Minister, welcome to In Conversation.
Thank you very much for hosting me here.
Do you think that liquid natural gas could ever replace oil?
We believe that all energy sources will be relevant, at least for this transition period. Us in the state of Qatar, we see that energy will remain a very relevant, cleaner and more reliable source for a longer period, because we see that it is the best alternative and the more realistic alternative toward the transition. Now, is it going to be a total substitute of fuel? It will take over gradually, and we have seen this, happening in different countries in the world. But we don't know when is, the time when it will be the substitute and what the other energy sources that will go along with it.
Well, Qatar is making enormous investments, if you like. You're placing your bets that it is going to be, because you're opening up tremendous fields. In fact, that field is going to boost you to becoming the largest LNG exporter in the not so distant future.
Well, actually we are, I think, right now one of the largest. With the expansion, what we have seen with this energy poverty, which has been almost in the last few years. And this was due to a lot of things. One is, the policies that have been adopted for, to transforming to green and in an aggressive way, which sometimes it's not realistic. And we have seen also the suspension of new investments in the energy field. Qatar decided that we are going to continue to pursue our investment in the natural gas, which we believe will remain relevant. As we mentioned, it is a cleaner, safer, and more reliable source of energy. So that's why we have invested a great amount of time also in making sure that our LNG is not producing harm to the environment. That's why we have been now a regional leader in carbon capturing, a world leader in flame reduction. So it takes a lot of work to make to be with this size of energy producing, but also responsible toward the environment. And we think that this expansion will help in stabilizing the energy market in the near future and also in the long term.
The head of the International Energy Agency says, though, that we must not use things like LNG or anything else as a crutch so that we do not move over into renewables. So instead of weighing too much and saying, oh, we must just clean up and use things like LNG, he says, well, we also should make that transition into renewables as well.
I don't see any contradiction between both. Both of them, they can go side by side. And we have mentioned that several times, that natural gas is the best way to transition to a cleaner energy.
The price for oil and liquid natural gas has gone up to record highs in recent months. Do you think they're going to stay high?
Well, I cannot predict about the energy prices as I'm not the expert in that, but we have seen that the world post-COVID has changed, and there are a lot of consequences of what COVID has made us went through. So energy prices and also the policies that have been adopted pre-COVID with the green agenda has affected a lot the energy prices. It's not in anyone's interest, neither the consumer nor the producer. Us as a producer, energy supply stability and pricing stability is very important and key, because we are a long-term energy supplier. We are a long-term, we depend mainly on the long-term contracts with countries. In fact, we have a great partnership with Asia and Europe, with both of them. And we have seen that pricing stability is important to continue this partnership and to solidify that.
Do you ever get your colleagues saying to you, you know, you could play a role in keeping inflation down by making sure that LNG prices are not too high, but making sure that there's a lot of supply?
We have been a very reliable partner to all our buyers. As I mentioned, we have long-term contracts with all of them, and we continue our supply, and we never actually delayed even any shipment with our partners. And we have seen that the energy crisis is growing in the entire world. We supply to Asia, we supply to Europe as well, and we didn't give priority to one over the other. We just stick to our contracts, and we want to help all our friends.
Football has been called the most beautiful game, but it does have an ugly side, brawling due to over-enthusiastic fans. How is Qatar going to handle these hooligans?
Well, first of all, we are very excited to host, the FIFA World Cup in Doha in a few months from now, and we are really looking forward to bring the world back together. Post-COVID now, I think it's the first big event that brings happiness to people, and we are really keen to see that happening, and we hope that everyone comes to Doha to see our country and to enjoy our hospitality and also to behave. From our perspective, we believe that any tournament, it has its positive side, it has its negative side. Some of the, let's say, misbehavior of some of the fans. I think that our security protocol that being put in place has been very strict to ensure the safety and security for everyone who's in Doha. And also the security cooperation that we have with different countries and the crowd management protocol will help a lot in minimizing any negative impact that might associated with the fan experience. And what we are focusing on really how to make the best fan experience for all our fans who are coming there. And Qatar is a peaceful country, so I believe even those people who are getting overexcited, when they see this peaceful environment, they will act peacefully as well.
Some people say that football is not a celebration without a beer. Will beer be sold at the World Cup in Qatar?
Well, there are designated areas where it will be free for them to do whatever they want. But also, we would like them to come and to enjoy the football and respect our culture and experience it and enjoy it in the stadiums. Alcohol will not be allowed.
What about all the stadiums that were built specially for the World Cup? What are you going to do with them after?
Well, actually, we've been taking this matter very seriously from a very early stage. Actually, we have formed a legacy committee back in 2013 or 14, if I'm not mistaken. And the focus of this committee is really about the legacy post the World Cup. And each stadium has a use after the World Cup, which is not necessarily for the football, but for other uses. Some of the stadiums will be disassembled and shipped to developing countries who are in need of stadiums. And there are very interesting ideas around the stadiums in Qatar, and I hope that you will have the opportunity to come to Doha and to see what's going on there, and each stadium, what is the story will be behind it. Each stadium being built for a purpose, that it will host the World Cup, but after the World Cup it will be used for different purposes. So, for example, there are some ideas about a stadium which will be transformed to a major health hub for hospitals, clinics, and others. Another stadium which will be dismantled and will be used for, like we have one of the stadiums on the shape of, it's actually built by shipping containers that they are going to be reused again. And the seating will be donated to developing countries. So each stadium has a legacy and has its economic impacts post the World Cup. That's what we've been planning for in the past years. So it's not only due to the current inflation prices, but they've been taking this process very thoughtfully in the past few years.
What about the very large number of foreign workers who've also been in Qatar building all these stadiums?
Well, I think, look, there is an exaggeration that most of the work is really related to the World Cup that they had done in Doha. World Cup has significant contributions as infrastructure of the countries, but of the country which we would do it either with the World Cup or without the World Cup. The stadiums are just representing a very small portion of this project, and Qatar will not stop growing. Growth will continue. We appreciate the role that the foreign workers has played in the development and the contribution to the development of our country, and we are confident that there are significant opportunities post the World Cup in Qatar, whether it's on the expansion of the gas production, the economic diversification plan that Qatar has in place, major infrastructure which are already making Qatar as a hub, like the port, the airport, the airlines, of course, also a major sport event that we are going to host by 2030 with the Asian Games, and there are more to come.
So you're saying that people shouldn't get so fixated on just the World Cup as being that kind of driving force of infrastructure taking place in Qatar?
Well, I think the World Cup will be just the launching pad for a whole era of growth.
And now, of course, the most important question, Foreign Minister, who do you think is going to win the World Cup?
Well, whom I think I cannot predict. Whom I wish Qatar.
In 2017, you were blockaded by some of your neighbors. It was a land, sea, and air blockade. Are you back to being friends with them now?
Unfortunately, what happened in 2017 has disrupted the joint efforts, the joint work that we do together as GCC and forming as a block of stability in the region. Of course, this blockade has, and the GCC crisis had a lot of impact on the GCC work and on Qatar, on the other countries. But we have seen that the leaders back in January 2021, when they signed the Al-Ula Declaration, all of them, they've been forward-looking, all of them, they've been instructing us to work constructively with each other in order to overcome what the blockade and what the crisis has resulted with. And we've been developing our relationship and progressing very well with some countries. Maybe there is a country which didn't match the pace of the other countries, but we don't want to see a crisis or problems in our region. What brings us together is much more than what separates us.
In 2017, some of your neighbors blockaded you. The United Nations said that the blockade was illegal, yet nothing changed. Qatar stayed blockaded. Do you think that the United Nations is toothless?
Well, we believe that, look, for us as small countries, multilateralism is a key. As small countries, we cannot act alone. We cannot move alone. Addressing different issues, whether it's in the security, economic, health, we have seen, all the problems around us in the world. But coming together, we can provide at least ourselves and other friendly nations who are believing in the same way, the right way and the right approach to help. Now, with what happened with the GCC crisis, of course, multilateralism has helped to a certain extent. We cannot say it didn't help, but also it needs it needed to be looked at. UN bodies needed to be reformed, needed to be revised. We cannot see the UN, since World War II until now, no much changes happened to it. So the world has changed dramatically since World War II. And we hope that the UN also will adopt to these changes.
Is this a better than nothing approach, Minister?
Well, of course, we are trying to deal with any matter positively and constructively. And we say, instead of just cursing the dark, try to light a candle. It's at the center of our foreign policy to preserve multilateralism, to try our best to empower it and to make sure that the right reforms are in place.
The biggest American military base in the Middle East is in Qatar. Were you disappointed that the Americans didn't do more to stop the blockade?
Well, I think, our relation with the US has been one of our greatest strategic allies and partners, and we have a very strong institutional relationship. In fact, we are a host of more than 11,000 service men and women. And of course, the airbase, Al Udeid Air Base, is one of the main air bases of the US outside the United States, and it is where it hosts the command center for the coalition against ISIS. So our partnership has multiple sides and multiple faces. When the crisis started, actually, we have seen a strong position from the US institutions trying to put an end for this. They helped in the mediation and finding a solution for this. There was some miscommunication with part of the US administration. We worked together with the institutions to rectify this. And then we have seen the contribution that they have did in order to achieve the resolution. And you have seen how this partnership between Qatar and the US has been only growing in the last few years.
Some say that Qatar walks a tightrope, and especially now with the US and China in apparently some friction. Do you have any advice to your Southeast Asian colleagues about how to walk this tightrope between big countries when you're a small country?
Well, actually, most of the countries in the world, they don't want to see a polarization in the world. They don't want to see big power competitions, and they don't want to take part of it. Of course, as I mentioned, US, one of our strongest strategic, most important allies. And from the other hand, China is our biggest energy supplier. It's a political ally. And both of them, they have an important role to play in the global peace and stability. And we have seen that this tension will just lead us to more polarization and will make the world more a difficult place for all of us. And our advice for all other countries who have the similar situation just maintain a friendly relationship with everyone, try to encourage both parties to solve any differences and disagreement peacefully, and to avoid any escalation.
You've been having meetings at different times with Secretary of State Blinken, and then you also have been talking to, in other meetings, with Foreign Minister Wang Yi. Do you say this to them, that you tell them that you'd both calm down?
Well, definitely, if the topic being raised with us, whether with the US on China, we always say that China is our partner and we want to continue maintain the relationship with them, and anything that any differences or disagreement we hope to be resolved. And both sides has been always receptive to to constructive dialogue, to engagement. And I think that that's the only way forward.
Do you think that Qatar will be forced to take sides at some point?
Well, I don't see it that way. We don't want to be in a situation where we are choosing from one to another. And even if we will be in such a situation, we prefer to make sure that we are friends with everyone, and we don't put any relation at the account of the other relation. We want to maintain a good and very strong relationship with both of them.
And do you think that's possible?
It is indeed possible. We've been through a lot in the past, and I think we can continue to in the present and the future.
Minister, thank you very much for being on In Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Lynn, for hosting me here today.